An alarm clock on a nightstand by a bed. A man's hand reaches over to shut it off. He gets out of bed and slides into a pair of slippers. He turns a shower nozzle. Pours a jug of water into a coffee maker. A girl washes her face in a sink.
Water. It touches every aspect of our lives.
Washing berries.
Yet most of us don't think about the hundreds of gallons of water that are needed to produce the food for our table, the clothes we wear, and the products we use every day.
A family has breakfast.
Since water affects so much of our daily life, it's important to understand where it comes from, how it gets to us, and whether we'll have enough for the future.
Text California State Water Project. Meeting the challenge. Waves ripple out like puddles as the text fades away. Trees. Flocking geese. Reindeer graze in tall grass. Squirrels scurry about the base of a tree trunk, finding nuts from the debris of dead leaves coating the ground.
In the natural world, animals and plants move to the rhythm of the seasons, taking advantage of food or water when they are plentiful. For example, squirrels gather food in autumn to sustain them through the winter months.
A cacti bush covered in sharp needles.
During the rainy season, the cactus stores water so it can survive when water is scarce.
A tractor mows down a row of corn stalks.
Humans, too, have learned to cope with seasons of abundance and scarcity.
Parched dry ground in a valley, with a pipe running from a large facility.
Here in California, summers are hot and dry.
River rapids.
Water is plentiful only in winter and spring, but we need water all year long.
The challenge, then, is to provide a reliable supply of water year-round. One way we've met this challenge is by building one of the largest water delivery systems in the world, the State Water Project, a 660-mile-long network of aqueducts, pipelines, power plants, and storage facilities that provides water to 2/3 of California's people.
A fast-flowing river.
Collecting and moving water isn't a new concept in California. In the 1700s, Spanish missionaries built irrigation systems to water their crops.
An irrigated plantation.
Since then, Californians have struggled to bring water to where they live and farm. Two problems are at the heart of this struggle.
A geographic map of California.
The first is that 2/3 of California's rain and snow fall in the northern part of the state. However, most of the demand for water is in the San Francisco Bay Area, the San Joaquin Valley, and in Southern California. That's where most of the people live and where huge areas of fertile farmland are located.
Cars drive along rainy streets.
The second problem with California's water supply is that it's difficult to predict rain and snowfall from one year to the next.
Snow-covered pine trees in a snowstorm.
The amount of water we receive often occurs in cycles. Some years we get a lot of water. Other years we don't.
Parched earth.
But we never know for certain which kind of year we'll have.
Californians wanted a statewide system for storing and distributing water so they would have a reliable water supply year-round.
Old California.
But in the 1930s, when such a project was proposed, Californians were caught in a depression. The state couldn't afford to build a massive system. So California asked the federal government to build the Central Valley Project.
A massive lake with a dam in the mountains.
This system, operated by the Federal Bureau of Reclamation, carries water from mountain reservoirs to dry areas in the central part of the state, primarily farms in the Sacramento and San Joaquin valleys.
A tractor plows a field. A huge full parking lot.
Each year, more land was converted to agriculture, and the state's population continued to grow.
Crowds at a shopping mall.
This created a demand for more water.
A platform in the desert.
In 1960, California voters approved bonds to pay for the State Water Project, designed to serve cities as well as farms.
A department seal showing a dam.
The California Department of Water Resources built the project and operates it today.
W.R. Wilson.
29 public water agencies in California have contracted for water and pay for construction, operation, and maintenance of the project.
Zoom into North California.
The project's major storage facility is Lake Oroville, which captures runoff from the Feather River watershed.
A bridge crosses a lake.
It can store 3.5 million acre-feet of water. That's more than 100 billion gallons.
A line is drawn on the map from Lake Oroville.
Water that's released from Oroville flows down the Feather into the Sacramento River. Other rivers and streams merge with the Sacramento, carrying water to the heart of the water delivery system in California, the Sacramento-San Joaquin Delta.
A river delta glistens in sun.
The delta is a maze of islands and channels where the Sacramento and San Joaquin rivers meet before flowing to the San Francisco Bay and out to the ocean.
A line drawn to a region north of the delta.
In the North Delta, pumps send water through the North Bay Aqueduct, an underground pipeline that carries water to Napa and Solano counties. In the South Delta, the Banks Pumping Plant lifts water into the longest man-made waterway in the United States, the 440-mile California Aqueduct.
Flying over a narrow canal that stretches to the horizon, viewed over multiple shots, canvassing the landscape from grassy fields, to desert patches, to high mountains and large lakes.
As water moves down the aqueduct, it's delivered to various water agencies. Water pumped into the South Bay Aqueduct is sent to Santa Clara and Alameda counties.
A region south of the delta.
The rest of the water continues its journey down the California Aqueduct into San Luis Reservoir.
A large dammed lake.
Water is temporarily stored here until it's needed by the water contractors.
A long branching line is drawn on the map.
100 miles south of San Luis Reservoir, the coastal aqueduct branches off to deliver water to San Luis Obispo and Santa Barbara counties.
The longest line is continued south.
In the main aqueduct, water continues its journey south, some of it diverted to irrigate farmlands in the southern San Joaquin Valley.
Flying over crop fields briefly before returning to the map.
At the base of the rugged Tehachapi Mountains, the A.D. Edmonston pumping plant pushes water 2,000 feet up the mountain slope, higher than any single lift in the
A
world.
plant at the base of high peaks.
From there, it flows through 3 miles of tunnels, then into the east and west branches of the aqueduct to cities in Southern California.
A large spinning industrial metal cylinder.
The pumps that push the water through the aqueduct use tremendous amounts of energy.
Interior of an industrial plant.
To reduce the costs of running these pumps, the State Water Project operates 9 hydroelectric power generating plants where water is used to produce electricity.
A river flows over rocks.
During years when water is plentiful, the plants generate a lot of power, reducing the cost of operating the project.
A snowy riverbed.
The amount of rain and snowfall also affects demand for project water.
Barren land with an elevated house on stilts.
If it's been a dry winter, then there will be a high demand for project water.
Plants catching drops in a rainstorm.
In a wet year, there will be less demand, since contractors can depend more on local supplies.
A man with a clipboard walks by a wall of controls.
So to plan and operate the project most efficiently, it's important to know how much water will be available each year.
A metal cylinder with measuring marks is ground into snow.
During the winter, surveyors measure the depth and moisture content of mountain snow. This information is used to predict how much water will be available to fill reservoirs in spring and for state water project deliveries.
One man holds up the cylinder to balance while the other measures.
The total amount of water sent to each water district is planned months in advance, but daily water deliveries are adjusted constantly because of weather, irrigation schedules, water demand, and other factors.
To keep it going at
State water project operations are coordinated with other government agencies and environmental and water user groups.
A board meeting.
This coordination is done to improve conditions for fish in the Delta, while maintaining the amount of water available to state water project agencies.
An open office with computer banks and a whiteboard.
The Project Operations Center in Sacramento and control centers along the aqueduct monitor water delivery, power generation, and all other operations 24 hours a day, every day of the year. Dispatchers respond to changing conditions. For instance, At the Skinner Fish Facility, fish are salvaged that would otherwise be caught in the Delta pumps.
A man captures fish in a net.
If the number of endangered fish pulled toward the pumps becomes too high, then project operations dispatchers adjust the pumping schedule.
A man types at a computer.
They also regulate pumps and gates to make sure the right amount of water reaches water agencies when it's needed.
Walking along a ridge.
By regulating water releases from project reservoirs, the State Water Project also helps control flooding. Oroville Dam has significantly reduced flooding from the Feather River.
People ride a motorboat along a river.
Besides flood control and water deliveries, the State Water Project provides recreation. Water skiing, swimming, picnicking, and camping.
Children play in a lake with a beach ball.
Fishing is encouraged at many sites along the aqueduct and at the reservoirs. Anglers can fish for striped bass, largemouth bass, catfish, rainbow trout, and salmon.
A massive spillway. A series of dams.
With its dams, reservoirs, pumps, and aqueducts, the State Water Project is a massive engineering accomplishment.
Tractors drive over sand.
However, in many places it has changed the natural environment, affecting fish and other wildlife. Changes can enhance the environment through creation of new habitat, fisheries, and wetlands.
A flock of swans on a river.
The Department of Water Resources tries to avoid or limit environmental damage. If it occurs, then the department mitigates for it.
Mitigation may involve moving a species to a new area, planting similar vegetation in another location, or establishing and preserving wildlife habitats.
Untouched wetlands.
For example, the Department of Water Resources has created natural wildlife areas at Lake Oroville, the Delta, and in Southern California.
An excavator pulls gravel from a river.
Gravel and stream bank restoration projects have improved river habitat, encouraging fish to spawn.
A segmented concrete chute.
Fish ladders enable fish to navigate around barriers, like diversion dams, to reach spawning grounds upstream.
Marshlands. A facility over the water.
Another environmental project involves salinity control in the Sassoon Marsh. Special gates help maintain the right balance of salt and fresh water for plants and animals which thrive in brackish marsh conditions.
Walking along the side of a canal.
California is fortunate to have one of the most sophisticated and efficient water delivery systems in the world. But the state's continued population growth is challenging California's ability to meet needs now and in the future. Two major factors limit the amount of water the project can reliably deliver: environmental restrictions in the Sacramento-San Joaquin Delta and storage capacity of project reservoirs.
As a result, the project is sometimes unable to deliver all the water that's requested, especially during dry periods.
Looking over a map.
Now, I also have concerns about this access road coming up through here.
The challenge facing state water project managers is to increase deliveries without causing adverse environmental impacts.
A ballroom presentation.
Representatives from state and federal government, industry, agriculture, environmental groups, and others are investigating various proposals to solve this dilemma.
A reservoir at sunset.
The outcome of these discussions will affect the future of the State Water Project in California and the people who depend on it.
Produced by California Department of Water Resources, in association with the state water contractors. Executive producer, Dave Carney. Project manager, Bill Draper. Director and editor, Linda Thomas. Written by Linda Thomas, Bill Draper. Videography, Mark Lambert, George Madsen, Linda Thomas. Narrators, Susan Hayward, John Burge. Computer graphics, Brian Clark. Post-production, Paxad Post, Bongo Bob Productions. Special thanks to Elliot Holmes, Guerrero Family, KCRA TV Film Collection, Sacramento Archive, and Museum Collection Center.